Hey everyone, and welcome back to SciPlane. Today, we're going to be talking about some news in the SpaceX Starship program, um, specifically the 8th test flight that was supposed to happen, but unfortunately had to be scrubbed.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there was so much excitement leading up to the launch, especially because it was going to be incorporating all these new, really crucial features. But as we know, technical gremlins had other plans, I guess.
It was a real nail-biter for space fans who were, watching that live stream. There was that initial countdown hold, and then they restarted the countdown.
Hmm.
And, for a minute there, everyone thought they were going to go ahead with the launch, but then SpaceX engineer Dan Hookup came on and announced the postponement and confirmed they were offloading the propellant from both Starship and the Super Heavy booster.
Yeah, I think everyone kind of let out this collective sigh of disappointment, space fans all around the world. And I guess now the big question is, what exactly happened?
That's right. What went wrong?
Hmm.
And unfortunately, SpaceX hasn't disclosed the specific technical issues that led to the scrub yet. But, you know, I think it's understandable that they want to be really thorough in their analysis before they make any kind of public statements.
Right.
But that does leave us all in suspense, wondering what went wrong, and, of course, when we can expect another attempt.
Yeah. Well, Dan Hout did mention that they might try again the very next day, which I think kind of speaks to SpaceX's style, that rapid turnaround.
Yeah.
They're always learning and adapting.
Yeah, that's right. That relentless pursuit of improvement has enabled them to achieve such remarkable progress in reusable rockets. So let's talk a little about what exactly SpaceX hoped to achieve with this 8th test flight. What were the main objectives?
Well, this flight was going to be another significant step for the Starship program, really kind of pushing the boundaries of what's possible. One of the main goals was, achieving that suborbital trajectory like we've seen in previous tests. But this time they were planning to deploy 4 Starlink simulators for the first time.
Ah, yes. The Starlink simulators.
Mhm.
So these aren't actual satellites, right? They're like dummy payloads
Right.
designed to mimic the size and shape of the next generation Starlink satellites. So basically, it's a test of the payload deployment mechanisms.
Exactly. And it's super critical that those deployment mechanisms work flawlessly, if Starship is really going to play a big part in future satellite launches.
Yeah, and if you think about the size of Starship, it's huge. Its payload capacity is unlike anything we've ever seen before. It really has the potential to completely revolutionize how we approach satellite deployment.
Hmm.
It can make it much cheaper, to launch these large constellations of satellites for communication or Earth observation or scientific research.
Yeah, absolutely. And this test would have been a major step towards making that happen.
So, what else was on the agenda for this test flight besides the payload deployment?
Well, besides deploying the Starlink simulators,
Mhm.
SpaceX was also hoping to conduct multiple reentry experiments. They were really focused on trying to get the upper stage of Starship back to the launch site for a controlled catch.
Yeah, this catch mechanism is something that really sets Starship apart, right? Instead of using, traditional landing legs, they're trying to create a system that actually catches the returning booster in midair. It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
But, if they can pull it off, the benefits are enormous.
Yeah, that's exactly right. If they can do this catch system, it means they don't need landing legs, which are heavy and complicated. It also means less wear and tear on the vehicle and potentially much faster turnaround times between launches.
So the plan was for both the Starship upper stage and the Super Heavy booster to launch and separate.
Hmm.
And then both of them would come back to the launch site and be caught.
Yep, that was the plan. This 8th test flight was going to be a big test of their ability to not only control the descent of both stages, but also to coordinate their return to the launch pad. I mean, they would need incredible precision. It would have been a huge achievement if they had pulled it off.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, all of this is part of their larger plan to establish a fully reusable transportation system for missions to Mars and beyond.
Exactly. Starship is absolutely essential to making interplanetary travel, more accessible and, more importantly, more cost-effective.
And speaking of ambitious, we can't forget that the 7th test flight, unfortunately, did not go as planned. Ended up losing the Starship, which was a big setback.
Right. It definitely was a setback for the program, reminded everyone of just how challenging and risky space exploration is. But, SpaceX took it in stride, conducted a thorough investigation, and, as far as we know, they implemented a whole bunch of changes to the hardware and the operations to try to make that upper stage more reliable.
It's really remarkable how they're able to take these setbacks and turn them into learning opportunities. So this 8th test flight was really supposed to be like a comeback,
Correct.
showcasing all the improvements and upgrades they made since that last flight.
Yeah, absolutely. It was their chance to show everyone that they had made these changes and to take a big step towards proving that the Starship system was now more reliable. Of course, we'll have to wait until the next attempt to really see how those modifications work in a real test.
For sure. Well, while we wait for more information on the cause of the scrub and when that next launch might happen, let's talk a little bit more about those extensive upgrades. What exactly did SpaceX change after that 7th test flight?
Well, one of the main areas they focused on was anchors. One of the main areas they focused on was the heat shield. That's a really crucial component. Got to protect the spacecraft during reentry when it's coming back into the Earth's atmosphere. And they basically redesigned it a bit, used some new materials too, just to try to make it better able to withstand those super high temperatures you get during reentry.
Right, because that heat shield is basically the spacecraft's first line of defense against those scorching temperatures. I mean, if there's any kind of weakness in that heat shield, it could be catastrophic. So those upgrades are really, really important.
Exactly. And another big change they made was to the Raptor engines. Yeah, those are the engines that power Starship. Really powerful. And they kind of refined the engine design, focusing on improving the reliability and the performance. And they also changed the engine's control system so they can make more precise adjustments during the flight.
It's amazing to think about those Raptor engines. The sheer power. They're really pushing the limits of rocket technology. And every improvement they make is bringing us closer to actually being able to travel to other planets.
Yeah, it's really incredible what they're doing. A remarkable feat of engineering. Now, besides the heat shield and the engine upgrades, they also made changes to the flight software and control systems. They've incorporated what they've learned from the previous tests, refined the algorithms that control the flight path, and also optimized the systems that control the descent and landing.
So basically, they're just fine-tuning all of those systems, learning from each test and just iterating towards a more reliable spacecraft.
Yeah, exactly. It's this constant process of improvement, driven by all the data they collect and, their commitment to innovation. So let's kind of zoom out a little bit and talk about, why Starship is such a big deal. What are the potential implications if it's successful? What could this mean for the future of space exploration?
Well, I think Starship really represents a potential paradigm shift, in our ability to access space. I mean, it's not just about launching satellites or going to Mars. It's about, opening up all these new possibilities, things that we couldn't even imagine before.
Right. I mean, the size of it, the payload capacity, it's bigger than anything we have right now, way bigger. And that means we could do these really ambitious missions that seemed like science fiction before.
So give me some examples. What kind of things could we do with Starship that we can only dream of now?
Well, imagine large-scale lunar exploration, using Starship to transport not just astronauts, but heavy equipment, habitats, resources to the moon. We could actually establish permanent bases on the moon, scientific outposts, even lunar industries.
Wow. A permanent human presence on the moon. That's an amazing thought. What about Mars? How does Starship fit into those plans?
Well, Starship is designed to be able to transport crews and a lot of cargo to Mars, which would make it possible to create, the first human settlements on another planet. We're not just talking about sending a few astronauts for a short visit. We're talking about building a self-sustaining colony on Mars.
It's incredible to think about all the challenges involved in something like that. But Starship could be the key, to making it happen, opening up that next chapter in human exploration.
And it's not just about exploration. Starship could revolutionize so many different industries. Scientific fields. Imagine launching these huge space telescopes that could see further into the universe than ever before. Or deploying all this space-based infrastructure for power generation, resource extraction.
Yeah, it's amazing to think about how, cheaper and more frequent access to space could change things here on Earth, too. Like telecommunications, manufacturing, even tourism. It could be the beginning of a whole new space-based economy.
The possibilities are really endless. But of course, we have to acknowledge that there are still a lot of challenges, making sure that Starship is reliable and safe, especially during reentry and landing.
Right. But every test flight they do, whether it's successful or not, gives them more data, more lessons learned, which moves them closer to their goals.
Exactly. And that brings us back to the scrubbed launch. I mean, yeah, it's a setback for sure.
Right.
But we got to remember that setbacks are a part of progress, especially in a field as complex and challenging as space exploration.
And SpaceX has proven again and again that they're not afraid to take risks, to learn from their mistakes, to keep pushing forward. It's really inspiring, their resilience and determination.
Yeah, they really embody that spirit of exploration, pushing the boundaries, daring to dream big. So while we wait to hear about when they might try to launch again, let's think about this.
Let's leave our viewers with something to think about.
Yeah.
If Starship actually achieves these ambitious goals, and it does open up this, routine access to space,
Yeah.
how might that change your understanding of humanity's place in the cosmos?
It's a big question, right? I mean, for thousands of years, we've been looking up at the stars, wondering about our place in the universe. And Starship, if it works, could actually change us from, just passive observers to active participants out there in the cosmos.
It's a totally different way of thinking about things. Earth is no longer our only home. We start to see the universe as this place we can explore and expand into, maybe even settle.
Exactly. It changes what it means to be human. Imagine, future generations growing up knowing that they could travel to other planets or work on other planets, maybe even live on other planets. It would change how we think about our origins, our potential, our destiny.
It's hard to even grasp the implications, socially, philosophically, ethically. I mean, we could see whole new fields of study emerge, new industries, new cultural movements, even new religions, all inspired by this expanded view of reality.
Yeah, it really shows you that science and technology don't just change what we can do. They can change how we understand ourselves and our place in the universe.
And we don't have all the answers, right? The future is uncertain. But one thing is clear. We are living in a pretty amazing time for space exploration. And companies like SpaceX, with their bold vision and their, constant innovation, they're the ones pushing things forward.
And the scrubbed launch, yeah, it's a setback. But it doesn't change how important this all is. Every step they take, every lesson they learn, it brings us closer to a future where humanity isn't limited to just this one planet.
It's so exciting to be a part of this, to see it all happening, and to think about all the possibilities. We want all of you watching to share your thoughts, your predictions in the comments.
Yeah, what do you think the future holds for Starship? How could it change how we see ourselves, how we see our place in the universe? Let us know what you think.
And don't forget to subscribe to SidePlaned for all the latest updates on SpaceX Starship and all things space exploration. We'll be here to keep you updated.
Thanks for joining us today on SidePlaned.
Until next time, keep looking up.
And stay curious.